mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. Free agency is still just, I think it's about 10 days away. But so nothing there, but a lot of offseason quarterback talk, especially older QBs. And Austin, this involves kind of what we talked about with Rodgers, but also Matthew Stafford was in the mix. How do you feel about this market for older QBs this offseason right now?
It's weird because last year rookie QBs did so well, and this is projected to be at least a decent rookie class with Shedeur and Cam Ward. But because it's not an overwhelmingly dominant class like last year's was, there's going to be older level starters starting this year. And we also don't know necessarily if the teams that draft rookie QBs are going to initially start them or bench them half the year or bench them a full season to kind of get some NFL experience on the sideline under their belt before they actually start. And because of that, there's going to be teams that decide to go with veteran QBs, and I'm interested to see necessarily who gets another chance. And it doesn't necessarily even need to be a veteran QB to get a chance. I'm talking about like a guy like, I don't know necessarily what the Titans are going to do. I think the Titans are a team that you didn't talk about before we started recording, but the Titans, I could see drafting a QB. I could also see them. I know ESPN, their prediction for starting week 1 is Jacoby Brissett. I could definitely see it. But I also saw a report today that they're still trying to make it work with Will Levis. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams like that it's more of a wait and see kind of market this year. And I think that's the truth with a lot of these teams that are in a kind of QB purgatory.
Yeah, and I think some want that younger quarterback, so they don't want to dedicate themselves to an older quarterback, or they just want to wait till the next quarterback class. So that's why it was weird when the Rams, like, yes, you do have Matthew Stafford. They're letting him see different contracts, but he decides he's coming back. And there was like possibly floating the Rams could get Rodgers, and it's just trying to figure out where does Rodgers goes. To me, Stafford, it would just make sense to be with the Rams. That seems like the best place for him right now. Rodgers could go to the Giants, which I could definitely see that happening. But also, I think there's not that allure to the older quarterbacks because kind of the teams want to do that draft and develop and just kind of see. Or I think we could see like Sam Darnold, I think, is going to have a market. And then you mentioned Jacoby Brissett, but also trying to think should be like, what about Zach Wilson? Does someone try to get Zach Wilson and kind of get
there's Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah, Russell Wilson as well.
There's also Kirk Cousins. I know he's still on the Falcons and he's going to be paid money no matter what, but the Falcons are going to have to make a decision there. And Kirk Cousins is not going to be benched for the next 3 years with no opportunity to start, right? So there's a lot of QBs available that are elder statesmen, and I'm interested to see necessarily who sticks with their guys. I mean, the Browns are in the worst situation ever. I don't know who they're going to go with, but they're in the worst situation ever. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move for a minimum type deal. I think if Kirk Cousins gets released or something like that, then he could go to the Browns or any one of those QBs that's maybe on a minimum deal. That's who they would have to go for, because I doubt Well, I don't think Deshaun Watson returns next year because he tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
But even then, I know he has more years on his contract. I think it's time to completely throw away the fantasy of him playing in Cleveland away.
Yeah, the only problem with that is the contract. So they can't really sign someone to a big deal or even a medium deal. They have to figure that out, which is just really complicated. And that's even worse than like quarterback purgatory because you're in like quarterback hell, I would say, because you can't get off this contract. And
No,
like
it definitely is
so
that.
bad.
It definitely is that.
But yeah, so it's just so tough to see what the quarterback market's gonna be because a lot of teams need an upgrade at quarterback. Like the Browns, of course, need a quarterback upgrade, but they just can't because of the financials. You mentioned the Titans, but they're gonna roll with Will Levis. So I think there are a lot of intriguing options, and Stafford Rogers for 1 year would be interesting, but it's also they're trying to get their money. So, well, it's just I was looking at this and I'm like, I'm so shocked by this. Why is Stafford wanting to leave the Rams? I know he wants money in years, but he doesn't really have much leverage.
Yeah, in most cases, having a QB over a long period of time is helpful. The team gets used to it. There are times where you get a new QB and you have some success. Last year with the Vikings, the first year of Jordan Love as a starter. But most times, QB continuity is important to success. So keeping the Matthew Stafford is important for the Rams. But I kind of have my doubts about a lot of these older QBs because I don't know. What's the goal? If Rodgers goes to New York, what is the goal? Is the
I
goal
think
to eventually retire at the end of the season? Is the goal to somehow get the Giants to contenders? Is the goal somewhere in between? What is the goal if he plays for the Giants? Because I don't know from either side necessarily. Besides that, it would get people in the seats for the Giants. What the end goal would be, because even if Rodgers returns to maybe not prime Green Bay, but solid Green Bay, where he plays solid and he's good, I find it hard to believe that he plays the season after. And if he does, I again don't know who's going to be interested. And if it from the Giants side, there's no way the team. It would take a lot for that team to make the playoffs next year. It would take a lot.
to me, I view it from the Giants side is he's the bridge QB. And for Rodgers' side, it's just like I'm gonna play somewhere and I'm gonna prove people wrong. So the Giants could draft someone or they could trade back and kind of do what the Bears did. Because the Giants aren't super high, but this quarterback class is weird, just like kind of how do people view. So I could see them trading down, getting a pick, and then next year having a high pick that they could either use to trade up and draft someone. So that's how I view it is they have someone playing QB that's not young and it does have that allure, but they also could sign Rodgers, draft, maybe draft someone and kind of use that young quarterback to be under Rodgers, but that probably wouldn't go well. So I just view it as a one and done from the Giants' perspective.
And you think that he would retire after that?
I think he would retire after that. I don't think he would return to the Giants, but he also could kind of use it with Russell Wilson. It's like, I went here. Okay, I'm going to build up my value again and have someone else sign me. But I view it more as he retires.
That'd be a weird ending of things, but I mean, it's not impossible. And I just feel like these teams that are always mediocre in most seasons, at best, like the Giants have had some playoff seasons, but not too much success even in those years. And they just cannot seem to find a consistent way to choose their next QB. Meaning, the Vikings are in a much better spot because they can just go with JJ McCarthy, but they had also set that up previously to always be kind of what was going to be able to happen. And the Vikings are just a good run organization, while the Giants are not. And I don't feel like your bridge QB should be a guy that's going to retire the next year, right? I feel like, for example, Andy Dalton just signed a 2-year extension with the Panthers. Why'd I bring that up? Because he's been with Bryce Young his entire career. Bryce Young's entire career has been with Andy Dalton, I should say. And I think that helps. It's not necessarily a coordinator, but you have some part of the offense that's remaining consistent. And that's helping Bryce Young. Bryce Young had a much better end of the season last year. And I'm confident that he can completely finish the turnaround and be very good next year. And that's partially because of Andy Dalton and that consistency. So if you're getting a guy that is older for your rookie QB, that guy's going to be gone immediately afterwards. I think it helped Jordan Love that it was Aaron Rodgers in front of him every year, right? So I think it'd be helpful in some cases, in the majority of cases, if the guy that you took over became the backup or someone that you could talk to consistently in the locker room. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case with a lot of these options.
Yeah, and you make a great point. And with that consistency and of well-run organizations, I don't view the Giants as a well-run organization. So I could see them kind of going, well, this is what we see. Let's try this. And it doesn't work out. But that's kind of what I view from their perspective. And they're the only team I really see that would sign Rodgers and kind of have that idea in mind.
Yeah, I do think it's a possibility. I can see him going somewhere else. It's just going to take a lot more convincing, I think, on Rodgers' part to actually get a job somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Rodgers is just headlining this weird case of this season of veteran QBs and not young guys. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But that is all I have.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you guys think about the Rodgers situation and all the other QB carousel options. Please catch you in our next video.